What up, what up, what up, what up? You already know what to do. It's your boy B Phil. It's time to learn something new. Let's jump right into it. All right. So, if you've been following along with all of these framework series, what you'll see is that we're just simulating a simple customer comes to a page, puts in some information, and then we want to classify if that customer is right for our business or not. And by what we're going to use is LLMs for this. So, first we have a prompt. We send that prompt into some LLM. Then we go ahead and get some output from that LLM. And then we're going to go ahead and send that output into another LLM call. And we're going to go ahead and have that LLM decide what email list that we should go ahead and add this particular customer to. And of course, we get the output of whatever list, the list, plural, that the customer should potentially be added to. So, very simple use case, but useful across the industry. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So first and foremost, you already know what it do. You want to go ahead and get that API key first. So we're going to use Anthropic today. You're going to go ahead and go to this website here, consoleanthropic.com, get your API key first. Next, let's talk about what the actual framework we're using today. We're going to be using the DSPy framework. And what this is programming, not prompting language models. And so this gives you a different way of thinking about how you should structure your particular system. So we know that systems aren't just LLMs. We know that there's other parts of a particular system. Let's say your sales funnel, right? This is your entire sales system. And what you want to do is you probably want to use an LLM for a part of that, which today we're showing you, which is the customer classification module. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the code. So as usual, what you want to go ahead and do is you want to go ahead and specify, or rather, you want to go ahead and create your virtual environment. We're not going to do that here. You can go ahead and do that on your own. This assumes that you have some Python experience. So you're going to go ahead and create your virtual environment. You're going to create your environment file and put your environment key or your Anthropic API key in there. And then you're going to go ahead and create your first file. Today, we're going to call it signature example. So let's check that out. So first, you're going to import some modules. So import DSPy, we're going to import DSP modules, Anthropic. We're going to get Claude from that particular file. We're going to go ahead and get load.m from .m. We're going to import OS, and we're going to get the literal and pydantic models. Next, we're just going to go ahead and do something very, very simple, y'all. We're going to load the environment, and then we're going to initialize our LLM the way that DSPy expects it. So we're going to say Claude model equals, we're going to use Haiku today. And then, of course, API key and our max tokens. Next, we're going to go ahead and, one second here, we're going to configure the LLM. So what DSPy needs you to do is set the global configuration for the LLM. And we're going to do that here. So DSPy settings configure LLM. Next, we're just going to specify the information that's necessary in order to do some particular type of classification. So as you previously remember, Brandon loves cats, is an avid parrot lover as well. He doesn't always love dogs though. Next, we specify the industry, which is just the store. So e-commerce store that sells dog toys. And then of course the categories that the actual customer can be put into, which is best customer, okay customer, and worst customer. We probably should have did mid, but that's okay. Mid customer, that's the lingo. I was mid. I was in the middle. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the fundamental construct in a DSPy program, and that is going to be your signature. And so in order to specify this signature, we're going to go ahead and use DSPy.predict. And so high level, what a signature is it's telling the LLM how it should output it. What it should output, not how it should do it, right? So it's saying that here we want to have input for customer information, the industry, and classifications. And we want to get an output of explanation and customer classifications. And this is all going to be strings at this point. So just remember, we're predicting input and output, and we're just giving the words. That's why this part is very important if you're just utilizing this signature standalone. And of course, we got some more for you. You already knew we did. So output, we're going to go ahead and initialize the signature, and then we're going to go ahead and have an output, and we're going to send in our input into this particular signature. So customer information, industry, and the classification. Next, we're just going to go ahead and run it. So we're going to go ahead and do some pretty printing there, or some pseudo pretty printing. And let's go ahead and Python signature.example. And this is just the verbose output. We can turn it off, but we're going to leave it now just so you can see exactly what it's giving you. So this is the actual prompt that is sending. Given the fields, customer information, industry, classification, produce the fields, explanation, customer classification. Follow the following format, right? And then it gives a format for that particular type of input and output. So this is just showing you, it's giving the very, very simple, hey, this is what we need, this is what we have as inputs, and this is how the format should be for the outputs. Great. So then we get that output. So explanation, based on the given information, Brandon is not an ideal customer for the e-commerce store that sells dog toys. While he loves cats and parrots, he doesn't always love dogs, which is a primary focus of the store's products. Therefore, he would likely be classified as an okay customer or worst customer for this particular business. And then, of course, we get the actual output, right? Or the customer classification. You can see here, I just printed those out just nicely. And I'm just an okay customer. Dang, I guess you're not going to be selling me dog toys, huh? It's okay. That's how it should be. If I don't like dog toys, I shouldn't get dog toys. Personalization is a great thing. So next, let's say we want to go ahead and string the next module, which is add to an email list. Let's see how we would do that. And as a bonus, let's go ahead and see how we can actually specify more information around each of these input and expected output fields. So next, we're going to go ahead and move to another file, and you can continue along in the same file if you feel fit, or you can just create a new file like me so you have these examples all in one place. So we're going to go ahead and import these same modules here, except for we're going to go ahead and add these typings, literals, right? We're going to go ahead and load the environment similar to before. We're going to specify the information, and this is where the magic is going to happen, y'all. So we're going to specify a class called customer classification, and this is going to be a signature. That's it. Right? Instead of doing it in the string format, what we're doing is we're doing it the long form, and we're specifying giving a description to each of the input or output fields. And so we're going to be passing it to customer information. It's going to be a string, and it's of type DSPy.input field. And you can pass this a description. So we're going to say information about the customer. Next, we have the actual industry. And so here, this is going to be the store information. Then we have a classifications, and this is going to be a string, right? As we saw here, we're just passing this array as a string. And we're going to go ahead and say potential classifications of the customer. And last but certainly not least, we have the output, the customer classification. This is going to be a string, and it's going to be a DSPy output field. And this is going to be the classification of the customer based on categories list. Great. Next, we're going to go ahead and initialize this signature, similar to what we did before, but now we're just going to pass this custom class in. Then we go ahead and specify the inputs of this particular signature. So here we need to go ahead and pass in the classifications, and this is going to be categories. Great. All right, let's go ahead and reveal that, and let's go say, and this is going to be categories. So let's go ahead and run this for now. So we're going to go ahead and run this a slightly different way here. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll go back like that, and we'll run all of this. I forgot a comma somewhere. So let's go ahead right here. Forgot the comma, and we're going to go ahead and run this. We're going to say prediction is not callable. DSPy.prediction is not callable. Okay, so for some odd reason, it's giving us an error here saying it's not callable when actually this is a DSPy signature, and it should be customer classification, DSPy prediction, right? It's the same. Oh, whoops. It's a predict. Errors everywhere, y'all. All right, cool. So let's run this. And we're going to go ahead and get that. Okay, it's done running. So we're going to go ahead and check the output of it. And you can see we have a lot of information in here, right? It's going to give us a lot of verbose information. So in this predict, we have that. And let's just go ahead and say we want to get out output dot customer classification. And let's see what this. So based on the given information, the customer classification would be Brandon. He doesn't always love dogs. The e-commerce store, and then the classifications. It's going to pass those in, and you see how pretty rigid this is. It's repeating everything else, but then eventually it's going to give us the worst customer, and we're going to see how we can fix that with another DSPy construct. So let's go ahead and back these out again. Okay, so now we have that information, and next let's go ahead and pass it to a list classification. So we want to go ahead and classify which lists the actual customer should be put on. So we have a class here, another DSPy signature. We have the input of the customer classification, which is the previous information. We have the industry. We have some list of email lists, as you can see here, and then we want a classification of the list that the customer should be put on. So email list customer should be added to based on the classification and industry. All right. So we're going to specify that. We're going to go ahead and specify our customer classification. We're going to append the explanation and the customer classification together. And we're going to go ahead and call a prediction here. So let's go, and this is predict. And yeah, we're going to have a list classification. So we'll just call that predict, and we'll have another output here. So let's go ahead and hold on 1 second. All right, yeah. All right, cool. So we're going to call predict here. Let's go predict. And we're going to go ahead and make some slight modifications here. So we actually need to go ahead and pass an explanation. All right, and this is going to be a string, and this is DSPy dot output field, and this is going to be explanation of the customer classification. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and run this and see what we get. And we're going to say start.py. And prediction is not callable. Yeah, so we run around that, predict. Whoops, error again. I actually added an in by accident. So let's go ahead and cancel that. And we'll run it down here. So this is a lot of information. It's saying not all were provided. So we have some classifications, and we need to pass that here. And this is going to be categories. And we're going to say print, and we're going to print the output. We're going to print the explanation, and then we're going to go ahead and print the customer classification. So output dot customer classification. And then we're going to go ahead and print the list classification here. So we're going to say print output 2 dot list classification. Great. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. So let's go ahead and print, and let's just 2 new lines here. And we're going to go ahead and clear the terminal. We're going to run it. And we're missing one thing again. Of course we are. And this is going to be the email list, and this is going to be email list. Awesome. So let's run that one more time. So we see what we got before, and it's saying that the classification should be on the dog list. So we probably want to get an explanation because that's obviously wrong. But in order to keep going, we can go ahead and do the next step, which is going to make this a lot more detailed. And so we're going to go into the next, which is type predictor. So let's go into our modules, and we're going to go ahead and create a way to orchestrate all of these in a loop. So first we're going to import the same particular modules we had before. Then we're going to go ahead and load the environment. We're going to go and configure the LLM. We're going to bring in the information we need to run this. But then we're going to go ahead and specify Pydantic class. So we're going to say classification output. And this is going to be classification based on given categories. Now, instead of passing in this list here, right, we're going to go ahead and pass some literals. So it's going to have to choose here. Next, we have an email list output. In this list, the customer should be added to, along with the explanation of why, right? Because before we saw it was all together and it was a dog list, right? When Brandon doesn't love dogs, so why would he need to be part of the dog list? Next, we have our another base model, and this is just going to tie it all together so we have a nice output for both of these. Next, we're going to go ahead and specify the signatures again. And so if you notice, this time we're not passing in that categories anymore. We're just going to go ahead and do a customer classification signature. And we have the input of the customer information industry and an output of customer classification and this classification output that we specified before. Next, we have the list classification signature. And of course, we have the customer classification. And this is going to be an input of the classification output, right? So from out of the customer classification into the list classification. And next we have the industry, and then we have a list classification, which is the email output, which of course is up here that we just talked about. Next, we're going to bring in a new module in DSPy, and this is called a module. Hey, hint, hint. So what we're going to do is we're going to specify an initialization function, and this is going to be so we can define the actual parameters here. Next, we're going to go ahead and specify this forward function. And this is something that you can override based on this module class. And this is what is going to effectively orchestrate this customer classification and this list classification. And when we're specifying these parameters here, we're actually going to use a new class, which is a typed predictor. And this is going to add some additional prompting around the actual base models that we've added via Pydantic, and when we initialize this, it's going to add those into the prompt. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to go ahead and get this customer classification, and once we get that, we're going to go ahead and get the actual output here, which is customer classification, and we're going to pass that into our list classification along with the industry. And then, of course, we're going to return that all with a nice bow on top, qualify information, because we're trying to qualify our customers. So qualify module, we're going to go ahead and initialize that. And then we're going to pass the customer information in the industry in. Then we're going to print that out. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So we're going to go ahead and clear this. Say Python module.example, and we're going to run that. Awesome. So we can see, again, we got a lot of information here. So let me go ahead and print this nicely. Right, and we're going to go ahead and do that, and we're just going to go ahead and do a few new lines above it. We're going to go ham here and do 4, and then we're going to do 3 new lines after the fact. So let's go ahead and clear, run that one more time. All right, so you can see here we have a customer classification, okay customer, and then it gives the explanation. And then we're going to go ahead and see the next one. It says parent list, right? Brandon is an avid parallel dog, which may not align with the e-commerce or sales dog tours. However, he could still be a potential customer, so he's classified as an okay customer and added to the parent list. So this gives you this nice output, right? But it still went ahead and ran all of this above, and you can see the prompts that it actually passed in. So you could say right here for this particular run of the module, it says, given fields, customer information industry, produce the fields customer classification, follow the following format, right? And it has that format. And then it has the actual, right here, this is important. This is the literals that is passing, and it's saying type string, right? And then we go ahead and get it out. And then the second run, which is going to be the list classification, is given the fields, customer classification industry, produce the fields list classification. And it says follow the following format, right? And it gives the customer classification, and it tells you everything that you need to know there. Respond with a single JSON object, and then it gives the JSON schema. And of course, when you're running this, you can go deeper into this, and you can go deeper into the actual DSPy library. I actually encourage it. There's a lot more to this library, but this is all we're going to cover. So hopefully you learned something. You already know what it is. It's your boy B Phil. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe, leave me some comments, tell me what else you want to see, and of course, most importantly, go build something. We out. Peace.